Ever checked your investments and realized you have no idea if you are actually making money? My stocks were scattered across 4 apps and my spreadsheet was messy. So I built this real-time investment tracker with Python, Flask and SQLite 3. And in next 25 minutes, you will build it too. Check this out. Last month I realized I couldn't answer a simple question. Am I making or losing money? About 78% of new investors can't tell their real returns. Let's fix that. So today we are building an investment tracker. You might have already guessed. If you haven't already, do subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any new videos. Alright, let's get started. This is my project structure. For this project, we'll use Flask, Zook, yfinance. Setting up my virtual environment, Python-m venv venv. Let me switch to our command prompt. Alright, to activate the virtual environment, we'll type venv script activate. Press enter. If you see your virtual environment name in front of your command prompt like this, that means your virtual environment is active. Now let's install the required packages. So to install them, we'll use pip install -r and my requirement.txt file. Press enter. Alright, now that our packages are installed, let's go ahead and create our models.py file. Models.py file is where we'll create our tables, database connections, relationships between tables, all that, right? First, let's import our packages. For this, we just need SQLite 3. We'll create a connection object. Here, I'll give my database name, investment.db. Let's create a cursor. A cursor is like a pointer. We will use it to create our tables. So the first table is our users table. This is where we'll store users information like ID, username and password. To create this table, we'll use a function called execute. Within this function, I'll run an SQL query. To run an SQL query using this function, we have to give 3 inverted commas, and in between these 2 inverted commas, we'll write our SQL query right here. To create a table, we'll use create SQL statement. This table will have an ID column, a username column and password. ID is going to be our primary key and the value of ID will be auto incremented. Means we don't have to provide a value when we are creating records for this table. For username and password, I'm giving text as the data type of that column. Username is going to be unique and not null. Password is just not null. Next, we'll create a table to store our investment details. So I'll name the table as investments. Here is the code to create the investment table. This table will have ID, user ID, symbol, category, quantity, and by price as the columns. Now ID is going to be our primary key and auto increment. User ID is of type integer. Symbol, all the stock related information will be stored in symbol column. We have a column for category, quantities, and by price. The ID column, which is this, is going to be a foreign key and it will refer to ID column of user table. Now we have to commit our changes. Once the changes are committed, we will have to close our connection. So this is our models.py file. If you have any questions, do let me know in the comments. Now let's build our app.py file. We'll create our routes and logic to create data in our tables. First, let's import all the required libraries. From Flask, import Flask, render template. Render template is used to render our HTML pages. Redirect is useful when we want to send the user to a different route. URL_for, request, session. We'll also use Flash. Flash is basically used to display error messages in the front end. Now let's import SQLite 3. I'll also import yfinance as yf. Yfinance is basically Yahoo Finance. Now I'm using Yahoo Finance because for this project, I'll be calling the APIs from yahoo.com or Yahoo Finance. Now I'm going to import our security packages from zook.security, import generate hash password and check hash password. I'm not sure how to pronounce this package, so if I'm saying it wrong, do let me know. Alright, now I'm going to configure our app equal to Flask. I'll give the magic variable name, setting a secret key. I'll just say secret key, or let's say super secret key. Alright, There is one more thing we should have, that is a database helper function. So def get underscore db. In this function, we'll create a connection object. We will connect to our database, that is this database connection dot row factory equal to SQLite for row. Yeah. Now I'm going to return the connection. That's it. We need a helper function so that we don't have to write all this code just to connect to our database. Now, whenever I want to connect to my database, I'll just call this function, and this function will give me an object or a connection object. I'll use this object to execute my SQL statements. Alright, now it is time to write our first route, which is going to be our home route or the root route, app.route, and this is going to be this, defining a function. For now, I'm just going to return a hello world message. Return hello world. That's it. Let's write one more piece of code to execute the application. So I'll just say if main app.run debug equals to true. Save this. Let's go to view terminal. I'll just clear my screen. Let's run the application. Python app.py, enter. Click on this URL. This is giving me hello world, which is the exact message which I am returning from our home route, which is this. So this is our first output. Now let's modify the home route, because we are not just going to display hello world. When a user visits our root route, I'm going to show them the login.html page. So to do that, I'll say return redirect URL login. Now this is a route which I'll develop in some time. So here what I'm doing is I'm just returning this thing from here to here, basically redirecting the user to the login route. So when I visit our application and the root URL, which is this, I should be redirected to login URL. Since I don't have login URL created yet, which is why I'm getting this error. Now I'll write one more piece of code in our root route, which is if a user is already logged in, then we are going to redirect them to our dashboard, not the login page. So I'll say if user underscore ID in session, then I'm going to return and redirect the user to URL dashboard. Here I'm just checking if the user ID is there in session variable, which means the user is logged in and a session is created. Then we are going to redirect them to our dashboard URL. If the user is not logged in, I'm just going to send them to our login route. Alright, next, before users can log in, they have to register first. So next I'll create a route so that user can register to our application. So I'll say app.route, and here I'll say register, and this route is going to accept methods equals to get, post. Now let's create a function def register. In register function, I'm going to accept username, password, and create a new entry in our user table. So let's do that. Initially, I'll just check if request.method equal to post, means the user is sending the data from a form using a post request. Then we'll accept username equal to request.form and say username. Password equals to request.form and say password. We are not going to store our password as a simple text. We will generate a hash password for this and store that password in our password field. So to generate a hash value, I'm going to use generate hash function. Let's create a connection and call our helper function getDB. Now it's time to execute an SQL statement. So let's insert users table, and the column names are name and password. Values will be some placeholder, and outside this I'll mention the values or the variable, the username and password. Connection.commit and then connection.close. Once the data is successfully saved in our table, I'm just going to flash a message. Let's say account created and please log in, and this is going to be a success message. So flash function is going to have a string as the first parameter, and the second parameter is going to be a category or what type of message I'm sending to front end. So if it is a success message, this is going to be in green color or something. If it is a warning message, it is going to be in yellow, and so on. Let's return and redirect them to URL underscore for login URL. Also, if the requested method is not post, then I'm just going to show them our register.html form. Return rendered template and register.html. Now let's create our first HTML form, which is register.html. Alright, before creating our register.html, let's create our base.html, because this is going to be our template for all the HTML files, and we will extend base.html to all the other files using Jinja2 templates. Alright, so here is our base.html file. We have a title, and in the navigation panel, I'm showing a dashboard URL, add investment URL, and logout. These three URLs will be displayed if the user is logged in or the user ID is available in session variable. If it is not, then we are going to display login and register buttons. This is where I'll display all the Flask messages. So what I'm doing here is I'm getting the Flask message with category equal to true. So this is what I was saying, that a Flask message will have some text or string, and it will have a category. So I'm getting those Flask messages, and if the message is not empty, let's loop through all the messages and show the category and the related message. The category is going to be our class, and we are going to display the message. So all the other HTML file is going to extend these values from navigation pan till here. The additional content which are there in, let's say, register.html is going to be displayed on this part of the block. Now that our base.html is ready, let's create our register.html. So here is our code for register.html file. Nothing too fancy. We are just extending our base.html, a title or a heading, a register, and a form. Inside this form, I'm accepting username and password. Once a user clicks on register button, I'm just going to send all this data to our register route. Let me correct this. Okay, now it's fine. Once the user has registered to our application, now we can allow the user to log in. Let's create a route for login. Route, I'll just say login, and this URL is going to accept get and post method. Let's define a login function. Alright, so here is the code for logging in. If the requested method is post, I'm accepting name and password from our requested form, getting a connection object, and then executing a select statement, getting data from users table. Fetch one function is going to get only one record for this user ID. If the user dictionary is not empty, I'm comparing the password which is entered in our login form, and the password which is already stored in our database table. If user ID and the password are a match, then we are storing the user ID to our session variable user_ID. Once this is done, I am returning the user to our dashboard URL or the dashboard route. If the user's detail does not exist in our users table or the password check failed, then we are just showing a flash message, invalid credential, and the category is danger. If the requested method is not post but get, I'm just rendering our login.html template. Now it is time to create our login.html file. Here is our login.html code. We just have a username field and password field. Once the user click on login button, we are going to send these details to our login route. Now that our login URL is ready, we can just refresh our register.html file and see the output. Alright, so here is our register route. We have username and password and a register button. Now this is not looking nice because I have not added any CSS or style. So let's add some CSS now. Right, so here is our design. I've added lots of CSS and it took me some time to complete everything. So here it is. Now let's check our register.html. So this is how our application look after the CSS styling. The button is, we can change it later, but for now I think this is good. We have username, we have password, we also have login and register, which is fine. now that users are able to log in, register, it is time to create a route for logout so that users can close the session and log out securely. So I'll create app.route logout df logout. Building a logout functionality in Flask application is quite easy. You just have to clear the session using session.clear function, and then just return and redirect the users to URL underscore for the login page or the login URL. So this is our logout route. Till now, we have created the root route, which will redirect the user to dashboard or the login URL. Users are able to register using the register route. They are also able to log in using the login route and log out once the session is complete. Now it is time to create a route for our dashboard. So dashboard is going to be the place where we'll display all the investment details like stocks and cryptos, everything. You will be able to add your favorite stock to see the price changes in real time and lots of cool features. So let's build our dashboard URL app.route. I'll just say dashboard. Let me define a function dashboard. These are the activities we are going to perform inside dashboard route. Step 1, checking if the user is logged in. Return redirect. Else I'm creating a database connection, get DB. Oops, I forgot to mention the equal symbol here. Creating a database connection, get DB. Investment equal to, I'll execute an SQL statement, execute. I'll say select star from investment table where user underscore ID equal to a placeholder, and here I'll mention the session user ID, session user underscore ID, and I'll call fetch all function to get everything for this user ID. Let's create a couple of variables and list. So I'll say total underscore value, total underscore cost, and updated underscore investments. Alright, so these variables and list are pretty much straightforward. Now we are going to fetch all data of a stock using yfinance module. So I loop through all the investment and fetch the stock details for each stock inside the investment table. Alright, so here is our code. Now I'm looping through all the investment and getting the ticker using yfinance ticker and passing the symbols for that stock. We will get the live price of a stock using history function. Obviously, we have to write this in a try catch block so that we don't have any dump or exceptions. So once we have the live price of a particular stock, we can just multiply the live price with our investment quantity. We'll get the current value. Investment quantities, investment or the stock by price will give us the cost. And here is how we are calculating the total values and total cost. In here, I am just appending the update value of a stock to our updated investment list. Now that we have total values and total cost, let's calculate profit or loss. Now it is time to return to our dashboard.html. Return the rendered template. I'll say dashboard.html. Along with this, I am going to return investments, total value, total cost, and profit loss. Investment is our updated investment list. Total value is just total value. Let me round this to 2 decimal places. Round to cost, 2, round. Alright, so this is our dashboard route logic. Comment below if you have any questions or any doubts. Now it is time to check our output. I'll go to view, terminal. Let me just clear my screen. Python app.py on this. Alright, so I have a small error here. It seems like I forgot to mention the end block keyword or the beginning keyword in our login.html. So let's fix this. I'll go to login.html. I've added the end block. Let's add these 2 blocks as well. Press enter, save it, refresh. So this is our login page. I'll click on register. Let's say Vivek 1 2 3 4 5 6 register. Alright, so we have a small error. Let me see what is the error here. No such table. Alright, so the error says users table does not exist. Now if you are following this video, you should be able to guess what mistakes I did. So I did a big mistake here. That is, I forgot to execute models.py file. So what I'll do now is I'll create a function init underscore db, and I'll add everything inside this function like this. Save this file, and in app.py I'll just import from models, import init.db, and I'll call this function where I'm executing this application right here. Now let's see if our application works. View terminal. I just cancel this. Alright, click on the link. Let me try to register. I'll write, let's say, vdeka, and I'll give password. So the user is successfully registered and the account got created. Please log in. If I go to login and then let's try to log in, we have a small error inside dashboard URL, which is cannot unpack non-iterable int object. So Python is saying that it is not able to unpack two values or two variables, which is total value and total cost. I should initialize them separately. So what I'll do is I'll close this and I'll just initialize this like this. This is all coming from other programming language, so I'm sorry about this. Alright, I believe it is correct now. Let's refresh our application. So we are getting a blank dashboard, which is totally fine because we have not designed our dashboard.html file yet. So let's do that. I'll go to files and dashboard.html. So let me write the code for this page. Alright, here is our dashboard. So we have a title. We are displaying the total value, total cost, and profit and loss values over here. I have also created a table where I'll be displaying all the investment details like symbols, categories, how many quantities we bought, current price, values, and whether I'm getting some value or I'm losing some money, and profit and loss. I am creating two anchor tag here. One is to edit an investment and the other one is to delete that investment. Now if I refresh our dashboard.html, I'll get some error. See, because I have not created add_investment URL or the route. So let's create our add functionality to add an investment. So I'll create our add investment route over here. app.route add, and this route will accept a get request and a post request. Define a function. First thing, we are going to check if a user is already logged in. So user underscore ID not in session, which means the user has not logged in. So I'm just going to redirect them to our login route. If the user has logged in, I'll check the method whether it is a get request or a post request, right? If request method equal to post, if it is a post request, then I'll get the details like symbol, category, quantity, or the buy price, and then insert these details in our investment table. So symbols equal to request.form, converting it to uppercase. Similarly, I'll get the other values like category, quantity, buy price. Here I'm just converting quantities and buy price to floating numbers, creating a database connection, executing an SQL insert statement, committing our changes. Once the data is successfully saved in our investment table, I'm just returning the user or sending the user to our dashboard route. If the requested method is not post, then I'm just displaying add_investment HTML file to the users. So now it is time to create our add_investment or HTML file. So here is our HTML template for add investment details. We have a field for symbols, category, quantity, the buy price, and an add button. Let's say a user has added some stocks to his or her account, and now he wants to delete those stocks from his account. So to do that, we have to create one more route, which is to delete a stock, delete investments. Alright, here is the code to delete an investment. So the route is delete, and we'll have to pass an ID or the ID of the stock, passing that ID to our delete_investment function. Again, here we are checking if the user is logged in. If not, we are sending them back to our login page, creating a database connection, and then executing an SQL statement, which is to delete that investment, committing our changes, and once it is done, we are redirecting the user back to our dashboard page. Next is to edit an investment, which is going to be same as deleting an investment. So edit investments. We'll create a route edit/int column ID. We are mentioning the ID here because we will edit an investment or a stock based on the ID, and ID is our primary key. Methods equals to get, post, define a function, edit investments or just investment. I'll pass the ID. Let me just copy this line of code from here and paste it over here because we'll check if the user is logged in. If not, return them back to the login route. If the user is already logged in, we'll create a DB connection. So here I'm just checking if the method is post. If it is a post request, I'm just getting the quantity or the bought price, executing an update SQL statement, which is setting the quantity or the bought price, where the ID is going to be the ID which is passed in the URL, committing the changes and redirecting the users back to the dashboard. Alright, now we have to check for get request. If the method is get, which means they are trying to get the data, of a stock which they will edit. So we'll just execute a select SQL statement, select from investment where ID and user ID. ID is going to be this ID, the investment ID, and user underscore ID is going to be the session user ID. Once we have the investment details from the investment table, I'll just send those data to our edit.html page like this. Save this file. Alright, we have our edit URL. Now it is time to create our edit underscore investment.html file. So here is our HTML for edit investment. Now we have quantity and bought price and a button in this file, which is not that complicated, and I'm using Jinja 2 template to display the investment values, the quantity and buy price. I'll save this, and now let's see if our application runs okay. I'll go to view terminal. Alright, I believe there is some error. Okay, if name equals to this, indentation is expected at line number 130, okay, 140. App.py, close this. I believe this is fine. So terminal, and then clear my screen, execute. Click on this URL. We have a small error, build endpoint this and this. So it should be add underscore investments. Let's see if it is investments, just investment. Remove it, save it. Okay, we have to make this same. Save this. Now refresh. Alright, so here is my dashboard. I can add in investment, I can see in dashboard, and I can log out. Let me just change this design a bit. Alright, so here is our dashboard. I did some color changes to our design. So this is how it looks after the changes. Now I'll add some investment here. This is our yfinance or the Yahoo Finance website. From here, let me see a couple of stocks. For example, top gainer. This is our stock. I'll just say, I'll give a dummy category here, dummy, and quantity, I'll just say 100, and I bought everything at 3 rupees or $3. Add. Alright, so here is our stock, right, in our dashboard. We can also see the current value. We can also see the total value, total cost, and the profit and loss, whether I'm doing it, whether I'm getting some money or not. In the detail table, we have symbol, category, quantity, buy price, I bought at 3 rupees, and this is our live price, okay, 8.08. So if I go here, so this is our live price, exactly matching with our dashboard value. Let me add a couple of more stocks. I'll just delete the first one, delete, and that one got deleted. And then log out. Today I have learned a lot. I hope you did too. Let's do a quick review of what we just built. Our Flask app allows user to register and log in securely, add investments with quantity and buy price, and track them in a clean dashboard. This app fetches live stock and crypto prices directly from Yahoo Finance, calculates portfolio value, and shows profit and loss in real time. We can also edit or delete investments, and everything is stored neatly in a SQLite database. And that's it. You now have your own investment portfolio tracker built with Flask, Python, SQLite, and live financial data. This project is perfect mix of backend, frontend, and real-world utility. You can extend it further with charts, category filter, or even export reports for your portfolio. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment. Also check the description for the source code and more project ideas. See you in the next one.